The Secret Garden is widely considered one of the greatest children's novels of all time. It explores the theme of rejuvenation and helps us understand the idea of bringing life to something that seems as though it is dead. The book was adapted several times on stage and in film. The one I'll be talking about is the 1993 film adaptation directed by Agnieszka Holland. Enter Mary Lennox, a 10-year-old girl who started off to be spoiled and is seen as one of the most disagreeable looking young ladies you'd ever meet. After her neglecting parents died from an epidemic of cholera, which in the film was changed to an earthquake for some reason, she was taken to live in Misselthwaite Manor, the home of her uncle Archibald Craven. There she learns what it's like to be civil and befriends two Yorkshire siblings, the cheerful housemaid Martha and her younger brother Dickon, who is an animal charmer and one of my favorite characters of the story. She even finds a walled garden hidden in ivies for 10 years and attempts to restore the garden to its former glory while keeping it a secret at the same time. Honestly, I was not expecting this film to be this noticeably different from its source material. I mean, sure, a few changes here and there allow for a different experience, which is kind of required for a film to be successful, especially if it's an adaptation. However, some of the changes and new scenes are kind of unnecessary, such as the cholera turning to an earthquake, as I've mentioned before. Were they really this concerned about keeping the G rating this film has? How would not tampering with the cholera element change the rating? Maybe in the modern day it would be a different story, but what about in 93? Anyway, other changes between the two mediums include where the key to the secret garden is kept. In both mediums, a robin redbreast appears to show Mary that there is a secret garden, but in the book, the robin shows her where the key is, which is buried in the ground by Mr. Craven after his wife's death, which occurred in the garden 10 years prior to the story's events. In the film, though, she finds a secret passage of some sort in a room early in the film, and when she reaches her late aunt's bedroom, she finds the key to the garden long before she even knew about the garden. If that wasn't implemented as foreshadowing, then I don't know what is. The character development, for the most part, is just like in the novel. But Maggie Smith's portrayal of Mrs. Medlock, the head housekeeper, starts to get a little bit off during the third act. Sure, she can be cross when Mary is not following the rules, but near the end her character starts to get too cruel, particularly in terms with her relationship with Colin Craven, the son of Mr. Craven. Just as in the novel, Colin was spoiled, and due to what everyone around him says, particularly Mr. Craven and his cousin, he thinks he is crippled and will die before he's even a grown-up. We learn, however, that this isn't true and he's able to stand and walk all on his own as soon as he tries whilst in the garden, and when Medlock sees Colin with Dickon and Mary, she immediately takes action to keep Colin and Mary locked up in their own rooms, which eventually the two kids resolve the conflict. The problem was, not only was this cruelty shown in the book, but because even after the fact is made known to Medlock, she still thinks the outside world would be the end of him. I was ticked off when that change was made. But other than that, the climax isn't that much different. Yeah, I know this review was more of a comparison, but that was the whole idea. While I find this to be a great film, the differences between this and the novel are kinda distracting. At least it's not like the Walden version of Narnia that has a pace too slow and lacks consistency with its source material. As I've already said, there are a bunch of other adaptations of the book, whether it be on stage or in film. The one I'd avoid is the 2017 steampunk version. Not only is it a very different take on the novel with differences way too distracting, but it doesn't have the heart of the original either. A big disappointment. A few more last notes about the Holland film. As different as it is from what it was based on, while also inferior, you can still watch it and feel as though you are watching the book coming from the imagination onto the screen. You can still recognize the characters and connections, as well as the theme of rejuvenation. If you look at this film the right way, the whole runtime is a garden. If your kids are reading the novel, it would not be a bad idea to have them watch the film too. It is sure to enchant them as much as if you were to actually find the garden outside of Misselthwaite Manor.